royal people. It's been a while since my last webisode. I know, I'm sorry, but I had a lot going on. I went to Nigeria. I traveled amongst other places. I got to see family that I haven't seen in years or never before. I'm helping people with their weddings. Of course, I've got that 9 to 5 that we call a job every now and again. I'm doing a lot. So it's all good. No excuses. This will not happen again. However, amongst all the good things that are going on around me, and congratulations to all those getting married in 2017, my heart has been on a roller coaster. There's still some heaviness because of all the things that are happening around us in this country. So please let us keep all the families and loved ones who have lost someone through senselessness, through hate crimes, through racism. Let's keep these families and loved ones in prayer. Right now, I want to bring to you the second part of my amazing interview with Joi Marie McKenzie. She's writer and producer of ABC News, and she talks about what it means to have a godly man and a covenant spouse. Let's hear what she had to say. This is a Royal ID exclusive interview.
I'm Joi Marie McKenzie, the author of The Engagement Game, and you are watching a Royal ID exclusive interview. Find other people there that like doing it too, and they make new friendships and new relationships. So it all, it was all great advice. There was one sort of crazy advice that I read about the book was she told me to cook engagement chicken.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember. I read it. I remember.
And so for those of you who have never heard of engagement chicken, it is this concept that you cook a bird with lemon and spices, and it's supposed to make your man magically propose to you. I thought it was stupid. I think it still is stupid, but I did try it, but I can't cook, so it didn't turn out
well. And you talk
about
that. See, I don't want to get into that, but you talk about that in the book, how he was kind of considered the better cook.
Yes. Oh yeah. He was a great cook. He knew how to cook lobsters. I don't know how to do that. I can barely cook rice. So cooking does not like me. It does not have my address.
But at least you're honest to your truth.
I can't cook, and I don't want to cook. And now I'm with a guy, he doesn't care. I'm going to order the best food for us to eat. So yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I can.
If you don't mind, I want to read a few excerpts from the book.
Sure.
So this was, okay, let's see. Now, Lindsay and Lamar were getting married, and I still wasn't. And now, I really didn't want to get out of bed. Talk about who Lindsay and Lamar are. I think there were a couple that had a younger age on their relationship than you, who met after you met your then boyfriend. Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's sort of that feeling that, I was comparing myself to everybody around me. So I would be looking at other people's relationships and comparing them and saying, okay, are they happier than we are? Like, am I in the right place? And so Lindsay and Lamar, they're my me and my new man, we were with them last weekend. They're great. And so they got engaged after 2 years, and here I am 5 years in. I was there when she met him. We were at this house party. And it just seemed like, how are they getting engaged quicker than me and my ex? So
that's not fair. Like, I'll put in more time.
Like, what am I really? I felt like, what am I doing wrong? Am I doing something wrong? And I was trying to figure out the problem, like trying to correct it. Like, if I'm not doing something, because I feel like the reality is that, especially for Black women, we don't really talk about the engagement process. Mm-hmm. It's just this mystical thing that you're just supposed to know how to do. Or you're supposed to know when you're ready, and you're supposed to know how to enter marriage. I don't know.
I can agree with that.
And instead, and I have to be gentle with myself now. But instead of going to my mom, I go to my older sister. It's like, instead of going to your elders, you sort of go to your friends, the people in your peer group, and you're like, okay, well, what did you do? And let's try to figure this out together. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like, that's where I was.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, because I think it's maybe the lack of community sometimes.
I don't know.
Maybe it's a lot.
I think it's a bit of culture, honestly. Okay. Because every culture does marriage differently.
Right.
The Indian community is completely different than the Asian community. So I feel like, for African American community, I think there is this sort of, I like to call it like, it's like the silence of marriage. Mm-hmm. People that are married, they keep all of their business to themselves. That's what we're taught, right? Like, you keep this is our relationship between you and I.
That don't work for me.
Well,
I'm super inquisitive. Like, I ask questions.
Right.
I have a lot of friends that are married
Right,
now.
but
or
the problem
elders.
is we don't feel comfortable going to those married couples and are like, well, am I doing this right? Like, what should I? And so we're left to figure it out by ourselves. And that is especially true for the engagement process. I think a lot of times people won't tell you what they really did to get it until after you've gotten it. You're like, well, really, for real, girl, I did this. And you're like, oh, for real?
Well, first of all, after you opened up and said what you did, it's like, well, I guess me too.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and it's like, but, you know.
So there needs to be more transparency.
Yeah, more transparency.
And more kind of just genuine, like something that people can relate to.
Right. I think also too, especially for Black women now, we are pushed to succeed, you know, because our, you know, foremothers didn't have those opportunities. And so when I was growing up, I honestly didn't hear anything about, oh yeah, grow up to find a good husband. I know, and that's different in the African community. I know that because I have a lot of friends who are Nigerian. And so, you know, but when they're little, that's what their foremothers tell them, like, grow up and find a good husband. No, I never heard that. It was grow up, be the best you can be, succeed, succeed, succeed. But the problem with that is that we succeed and then we're, you know, 30-something years old looking like, okay, well, where's my husband? How do I start a family? Because we weren't taught that. We weren't even taught to want that, to desire that. Like, why do you want a man?
In a lot of African American households where women are taught to be independent. Independent and kind of career driven and
you can misconstrue that.
Yep.
And then wake up and be like, oh crap, I need to find a man.
Right. Because I think it's important to talk about if in fact you want to be married. Let's talk, have that conversation with your children, not necessarily drilling it into them like, oh, you're getting old and your ex. You know, don't have that conversation. But that's definitely kind of But you, girl, you be surprised.
I've heard. Oh yes.
Okay, but I see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying.
I think we should have more of those conversations once in a while.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Now, I love the way that you describe how you met and who you've named in the book, Adam.
Yes.
Who was your then boyfriend? You asked him, you guys were at a party, you guys were at a setting, and this is the quote from the book. Listen, can you get this guy to leave? My friend is coming here at any second. And he's a jealous type. Sure, he says. Where's your boyfriend? My friend, I corrected, is coming out now. Please unravel what all that was about.
Okay, yes. So I'm like, what part of the book? Okay, yeah. So this was when I first met Adam for the very first time, and he was in a club, and I saw him, and I was like, oh, he's cute. But I was dating someone at the time. Now I call him my friend because that's all he was. You know, there's no title, there was no nothing. He was just a good friend who I've been on a lot of dates with for years.
Yeah.
But you know, it was a situationship, and so you know.
First of all, explain that for all of our listeners.
You know, it's like,
oh, I know what it is.
Okay, it's not a relationship. We're clear on that. You know, I can't ask you where you are, who you're with. And you can't ask me who I am and who I'm with, but like, we talk all the time. It's stupid. But that's what I was saying.
And it's clear that maybe you guys like each other.
We like each other, you know. Yes.
Okay.
It's just a mess. But that's what I was in for like a long time. But this guy, and so he was very jealous though. And so, you know, another random guy comes up to me in the club and he's trying to outside of the club rather, and he's trying to run game, and I'm like, oh gosh, if my friend comes out, he is going to lose it because he's very jealous. So I asked Adam, hey, can you please get this guy to leave? And instead, Adam bear hugs me and doesn't let me go. And so the friend comes out, looks at me, scowls, and just runs off. I don't hear from him for 3 days. And Adam says, you're welcome. Pretty much saying like, that guy's a loser anyway. Like, be done with him. And he was right. So it helped. Thank you. Thank you for getting me out of that situation.
But his feelings had to be hurt.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
Why he for 3 days.
I'm sure. Well, that's what friends do.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever.
Yeah. So you guys are friends to this day?
Oh no, that guy is married and has a lovely life.
Oh, okay.
And
that's definitely later in the years. Okay. Cool. That's interesting. So you met him then, and then things kind of formed from there.
Yeah, so we met outside. We met at the let out, and I explained what that is in the book. But it's y'all know what the let out is. You know, you're not going into the club, but you at the let out.
Right, the let out.
So we met at a let out, and we began dating. And then I guess within a year we were like, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend. But yeah. And then 2 years, we'd already talked about marriage and looking at rings and all that sort of stuff.
Wow.
So imagine my frustration at year 5.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was taunting. Why did you do that?
See, I don't know. And a lot of people are like, do you think he led you on?
I mean,
but see, I don't think that he did. I honestly don't think that he did. I think that what we did wrong, looking back, is that we never had a formal conversation about how we foresaw this relationship going. You know, so he came from a family where it was fine to date people for 10 years. In fact, his brother had been dating his girlfriend for 10 years. So in there, you know, how he saw marriage, you know, he never really saw it growing up in his immediate family. And so he thinks that's normal to date someone for 5-10 years. That's normal. That's what he's used to versus what I'm used to. And what my expectations are, I grew up with a mother and a father who've been married. They'll be married for almost 50 years.
Yeah.
So that's what I expect. So we just had 2 different expectations about what a long-term relationship looked like, and we never really had that grown-up conversation. It's uncomfortable. It's tough. We just dropped hints, and so I think that's what we did wrong.
So
I can't blame him all the way.
Yeah, it was a 50. So not really having the conversation about
we
marriage.
avoided the conversation.
It was kind of like a teasing type of conversation. Every now and then, dropping hints, but not really sitting down and saying, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for, and comparing the 2.
Right, and I think a lot of people in relationships do that. They say, oh, this is going to be so uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about it. But you have to. Just get it out of the way. And on the other side, you're better informed either way, even if you're hearing something that you don't like. Yeah.
You get into some of the conversations had between you and your parents and your family in the book, and we'll talk about them a little bit later, but what was the response that they had about you writing about them in the book? Did you get permission ahead of time, or you just wrote it and then they were like, oh, what?
No. Thankfully, I didn't. I don't know. I only asked 2 people for permission, but you know, I come from a family of writers. My great-grandfather was a writer. My grandmother, my mom is a writer. So we write about each other all the time. And my mom is a preacher. She talked about me all the time. She still does on the pulpit. Yeah, so you know, we're used to sharing our business. You know, yes, we're used to it, and I think we all sort of have a level of respect for each other where it's like, I'm not going to say something truly embarrassing. So we write about each other all the time. So it was a little bit of payback, but in a good way. Yeah, it's all good things.
And it was. Yeah, it was, and not just family, but friends that are considered family. You talk about a special prayer that Auntie C tagged you in on her Facebook page. Now the words covenant spouse lingered in your mind. Talk to us about who Auntie C is and about that Facebook page and that Facebook post and about those words that lingered in your mind.
Yes, so she's really my sister's godmother, but I consider her my godmother too. Sure. So Dr. Cecilia Williams Bryant, she's an amazing preacher, and so she had been posting these prayers on Facebook, and she had tagged me in one of them randomly. And so I'm asleep, waking up, the first thing you do is, check social media. So I'm checking my social media, and I'm like, she tagged me in a prayer. And the prayer said, I wish for you success and this and that, and I also wish for you a covenant spouse. Now, I had never really heard that term. I'm churchy, but I'm not that churchy. So I was like, what is she talking about? So I had to, go to my Googles and Google it and figure out what that term meant. And so covenant spouse is defined by his relationship that I had been missing, sort of a God-centric relationship. That allows you to have unconditional love, right? Because God loves you unconditionally, and I feel like if you have that example, then you're able to then say to yourself, yes, I can be loved unconditionally because God already loves me unconditionally, and I can then love someone else that way too. It was sort of a missing piece of the puzzle.
That's really deep. I really hope people listen to what you just said. That's really deep, and a lot of people aren't realizing that. Like that, what you just said is not coming out of the mouths of millennials. Yeah. And I hope that trajectory. I hope that changes. Yeah. But it's not. Yeah. It's not. So I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you're writing this. That you wrote this book, and I want people to pick it up. Now, go get it. Without giving the book away, why was it important for you to name the book the title that it is, The Engagement Game? Why I said I don't to marriage and I do to me.
Right. So I'll take the first part of the title first. So the engagement game, I really feel like sometimes it feels like a game, right? Like you're trying to figure out Am I good enough? Am I looking good enough? Am I doing the right things in order to secure a proposal? That is how I approach the engagement process. And that is a problem, right? Because the real person that you're supposed to be with, you don't have to do any sort of games or be any other person. You can just be and breathe. And that is who you're supposed to, hopefully spend the rest of your life with. And the subtitle, why I said I don't to marriage and I do to me, honestly, I go back and forth whether that is how it truly captures what I really feel.
Okay.
Like if I could do it again, I may write it, why I said I don't to marriage right now and I do to me, because oftentimes people are like, oh, why are you promoting, not getting married? And I'm like, no, I want to get married,
Right.
but I wasn't ready.
Read the book and understand.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. And and I feel like a lot of times when we are so, thinking about getting engaged, we don't really turn the lens around and look at ourselves and say, are we actually ready to get married? And I realized that after, years of pressuring him to marry, I wasn't ready. And so I had to say I do to me and figure out what are the things that I need to do to become a better wife. And so, as I told you before, my sister suggested make a list of what I want in a husband. At the end of the book, I sort of make a list of the future wife that I wanted to be. Because the relationship,
I love that.
Yeah, you got to start with you first. And so I wrote things down like, stop cursing, because at the time I was so frustrated that it was coming out that I was cursing a lot more. I never really cursed that much, but I was so frustrated in my life. I was cursing. I wasn't smiling as much. I wanted to be kind to strangers, those sort of things. And so I wrote down the list of things that I wanted to improve on my life, and then it sort of helped me cross that bridge.
That is so important. I don't know that I've made a list, but I know that there are definitely things where God shows me my heart. I'm like, oh my gosh,
this
heart is ugly. Lord, fix it.
Like, what do you want to be with
seriously.
that?
And it's so interesting when you say, making the list for him and making the list for yourself, because it's important to know that not only are you precious, but he's precious to God. You know what I mean?
And so you have to,
And you say it. You said that in the book, you said that you asked God before you met Adam to give you a clean heart, to bear bitterness from your heart, so that you can accept what God has in store for you, and to lighten your path so you wouldn't continue wasting time.
Exactly. And that is my prayer for breakups. I say it after every single breakup that I have, because when you break up with somebody, it is tragic. And I was very heartbroken, but I did not want to carry that with me to the next relationship, because I knew I was going to get another relationship. Life is long, and I'm still cute. But I just, had to get my life together, had to get my mind and my heart together. So I'm like, Lord, please give me a clean heart. And that's one of my favorite hymns anyway. So I just, had to get my heart together. So, yeah.
When it comes to faith, how important is it for you to stay focused on the purpose God has for you, as opposed to comparing your purpose to the producer or writer next to you?
Oh, yeah.
When in this field?
Yeah, I think, comparison kills motivation, it kills your creativity, it kills everything. And that has sort of become ever more important now that I've become an author. I had no idea how hard it was going to be, and people compare you without you even wanting to be compared to. People are like, yeah, your book is just like Steve Harvey's. I'm like, it's not.
Wow.
No, it's not. And he's great, but it's not, and so you're automatically compared. And so at times people will say, well, why don't you tweet like her, or why don't you do this? And oftentimes, because you see them succeeding, you say, oh, maybe I should do that. But I realized in my career, I've been doing this for, I guess, 10 years, it never has worked for me. If I try to do it like somebody else, I'm always going to be late, or it's going to come off phony or fake. So I just have to remain strong and say, this is who I am, and take me or leave me. And I can only be authentic, I can't fake it. It just becomes tiring.
Yes, transparency, that's one of my favorite words, guys, just to let you know. And then I also wanted to ask, what would you say was your breakthrough moment to kind of make it where you are today? Now, there might have been multiple moments, of course, there's not just this one, but what would you say ultimately was the most significant one?
Breakthrough, that's a great question. I think failing taught me a lot about myself and what I shouldn't and should not be doing. So when I first started my career, I remember I created a website called Fab University. I was obsessed with Kimora Lee Simmons, and so she had the show that was like Life in the Fab Lane. So I was like, okay, I want Fab, but I don't know what. And I had just graduated from college, and so I said, okay, Fab University, and I'll talk about all the great things on campuses but I just graduated. So it was a great idea, but it was a little bit too late. But I started the website anyway, and I was just copying what everybody was doing. And at the time I was copying websites like the YBF.com or Concrete Loop. That website doesn't exist anymore, but I was copying everybody else, and of course it failed. And so, but it helped me redirect to the next best idea, which was DC Fab, and you know, we're going to be celebrating 10 years in August.
Congratulations.
Yes, I can't believe it. I'm so old. But yeah,
creeps up on you,
yes, it creeps up on you. But that, you know, failing helped me redirect to where I should be doing, you know, what I should be doing. So yeah, that was my breakthrough.
Yeah.
Not being afraid to fail too, because when you fail early, the other failures that will come, they don't seem as bad, you know. So
I have a special young lady who needed to hear that. I love it. I love it. Lastly, finally, I want to ask you what I call the royal question. What is your royal ID? Now, what I mean by this is, what was the new name or new identity that Christ gave you as opposed to the negative name that the world, critics, or maybe even yourself claimed you to be? What was the new name that God gave you?
Oh, that is a great question. That is a great question.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, I might want to steal that, but I give you credit. But I think if I could give myself a new idea, it would be loved, you know, and not even loved by anybody else but myself, you know. And I think a lot of times we do hear those negative voices in our head. You're not this, or you're not good enough, or you're not pretty enough, or all of these voices in our heads. And I have learned through the power of prayer and meditation to silence those voices and only hear the loving thoughts. And so I'm big on being in a loving space all the time, you know, try to treat myself the best, because at times we can be our worst critics. We can be harder on ourselves than other people are hard on us, you know what I mean? And so I'm always trying to be kind to myself, be gentle to myself, be compassionate to myself, and really truly love myself.
I love it. Where can we find out more about you? Where can we pick up this amazing book, The Engagement Game?
Yes.
How can we support you?
Yes, so all of my information is on joimarie.com. You can, and that's JOI Marie.com. My Twitter, my Instagram is all on there. And you can pick up The Engagement Game wherever books are sold. It's in Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, iBooks, Audible if you like to listen to audiobooks. It's available everywhere, so please go support.
Yes. Producer and writer of ABC News and author of her new book, The Engagement Game, Why I Said I Don't to Marriage, I Do to Me, Joi Marie McKenzie, thank you so much for hanging out with us.